from Feely Field in Harrison, New York. Today, it's the high school football game of the week. Today, the Eastchester Eagles taking on the Harrison Huskies. Hi, everybody. Eric Lubitz along with Peter Archiello. Eastchester, Harrison today on paper. Matchup of two 2-1 football teams. One of them has a chance to go 3-1 with a victory. But, Pete, it's an even game on paper, maybe with 2-1, 2-1. But this Harrison team is loaded.
Yeah, they are. On paper, you're right, Eric. Both of these teams are 2-1, but Harrison is obviously the better team. They had a tough loss opening day to Brewster. They're considered one of the contenders for the state championship in their level. Eastchester, a team that is very senior-laden. They've got a bunch of seniors who have not much experience. A lot of guys have never played football before, and they're led by a sophomore quarterback.
Right, and talking about that, they have a good backfield, maybe amongst the best backfields in the section with Johnson and Phillips, but they have a sophomore quarterback in Joe Tarsia.
Yeah, Fred DeCarlo, the coach, said it's very simple. Joe Tarsia is learning on the fly. He learns every week. He gets better every week. Unfortunately, he's got a great backfield behind him. He may not be able to really take advantage of that with the offensive line that they have, but they've done a good job so far at 2-1.
Meanwhile, Harrison, make no mistake, they're not a one-man team, but they have one very special player, Sam Maldonado, maybe the best player in Section 1.
I'll tell you, I would put him up with any of the other guys in the county, Mike Romano, Mamaroneck, right on down the line. This kid is a bona fide superstar as a running back. He's only a junior. He's tough to tackle. He's strong. He's got breakaway speed. He is definitely one of the top 3 or 4 backs in the county. His numbers haven't been as impressive as they could be, but he's got a good fullback in front of him who carries the ball a few times, and he's got a quarterback tandem. Artie Troilo has a quarterback tandem that sometimes takes the ball out of Sam's hands because they are good, quick runners themselves.
That's right, and we had a chance to speak with both coaches. It sounds funny, 2-1 Eastchester would have to get an upset if they to win this one, but we spoke with, first off, Fred DeCarlo.
Coach, your team's been a pleasant surprise so far.
Yeah, we're happy with winning some games early on. We had a tough game last week against Sleepy Hollow. They're a real good football team. We don't have too many guys. We're a little banged up, but we'll be ready to play on Saturday.
This week against Harrison, you have Sam Maldonado, the best running back in Section 1. How do you think about that?
Absolutely. We've faced back-to-backs. One of the best backs. We faced Trevor Demi last week and Sam Maldonado this week. I don't know if we can actually stop them. I don't think you can stop them. We're going to try to contain them. Their offensive line is extremely good, and their fullback and quarterback are also very adequate. And with their 1-2 combination of the line and their support group, Maldonado has a lot of weapons that he can count on. And basically, we're going to try to just contain him and do our best.
So what is your plan offensively against Harrison?
Well, I think I've been telling the guys all week the best defense this week is going to be a good offense. We need to control the ball and control the clock and not let them get the ball so much. Basically, we're going to try to mix up the pass and the run, keep them a little bit off balanced, and hopefully we can attack them, eat up some of the clock that way, and keep their offense off the field because it's going to be very hard to stop them.
With the one loss already, you got a tough Rye game coming up, but you really can't afford losses along the way if you want to make the playoffs, right?
Well, we don't really look at it that way. We look at it 1 week at a time anyway. We know Eastchester's an outstanding football team. They have a young, energetic, enthusiastic coach who's doing a great job. And the kids are playing with enthusiasm, and it's a big rivalry from years and years ago. And we'll be ready for them, and we won't look past them. I promise you.
What concerns you about the Eagles?
I know they have 2 outstanding running backs. They have a few outstanding linemen, and I think the thing that concerns me the most is that they have ability to make some big plays, whether it's on a quick pitch or on a sweep or a screen or running back kicks. We're a little concerned about their team speed.
Sammy Maldonado, a lot's been written about him, probably will be, probably scouts coming to see him in the next 2 years, almost every game. What's he like as a runner?
Well, I'll tell you, he's one of the best players in Section 1, and he can be the very best. We're going to see Saturday. It's a big game, and we're going to give him the ball, and we're going to let him show what he's got.
And Pete, there we are. We've been on there for a few seconds. So Can Eastchester win this game, and how?
The key to Eastchester winning the game is definitely ball control. If Fred DiCarlo can keep the ball in the backfield with Phyllis and Johnson, if Tarsia can control the ball, keep the ball out of Harrison's offense's hands, they've got a chance to win this game. The tough part for Eastchester is going to be they've got to play 2 halves of football. Last week they played 1. They got out 6-0 against Sleepy Hollow, down 6-0 at the half. Sleepy Hollow ran back the opening kickoff and the game was over. They have to play 2 halves of football.
And for Maldonado, 2 touchdowns would give him the all-time Harrison touchdown record, which would be 1 better than his current coach, Art Troyal. We'll kick it off in 2 minutes right here on the Metro Sports High School Football Game of the Week.
They could edit that, though. They could edit that.
Not tolerate any negative statements or actions between opposing players, especially trash talking, taunting, or baiting of an opponent. If such statements are heard, a penalty will be assessed immediately. We will not give any warnings throughout the contest. Let this contest reflect mutual respect. Okay, with that, Harrison is the home team, Eastchester, you're the visiting team. All right? Let me introduce my officials before we have the game toss. Today's game officials, Andy LaBella, he's your head linesman. All right, he'll be on that side of the field. Mike Sacamano, he's your umpire. He'll be in the middle of the field. Michael Diodario, he's your field judge. He'll be on that side of the field. And Jim Angelo, he is your timer for today. All right? The clock is the official clock. With that, captains, who is speaking for Eastchester? Number 9. Who's speaking for Harrison? 56. Okay. Kennedy, $50. That's a head and a tail. Head, tail. Call very loudly while it's in the air.
Head. Overhead.
Head.
We have a tail.
Okay, tail. You have won the toss, Captain. You won. Oh, you won the toss. You want to receive?
No, we defer.
Oh, defer. Okay. They deferred. You want to receive?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Harrison won the toss. Has elected to defer. Eastchester will receive the ball. Which goal would you like to defend? Okay, turn your backs to that goal. All right, Eastchester will receive this way. And Harrison will kick off this direction. Okay, Captain, shake hands, come back in for play.
Eastchester Eagles will get the football first. You just took a look at their captains. Let's take a look at the officials for today's football game between the Harrison Huskies and the Eastchester Eagles, Peter. And there they are. And we look at the Eastchester huddle there, coached by Fred DiCarlo. His first year is 2-0, and they're back to the officials, as we just heard from Tony Diodario and his staff. He's the referee for today's football game. And we talked about, Pete, oh, go ahead.
It's pretty ironic to have Eastchester playing Harrison, 2 predominantly Italian schools, and every referee on the field has a vowel on the end of his name. That's pretty fitting for today.
The Eagles, as we mentioned, coached by DiCarlo, assistants Joe Ruth, Steve Boris, and DiCarlo was a star quarterback, 83-84 at Eastchester.
Yeah, Freddie was he was really a quality football player. Actually a baseball player as well, just as good a baseball player. Played for his athletic director now, Dom Ciceri. One of his assistants, Steve Boris, was a former All-American offensive lineman at Fordham. You know, this is Freddie's first year as a head coach, but he spent 8 years as an assistant coach at Eastchester. Spent some time under John DiArco, some time under Joe Luciano, so he knows the school, knows the program. Obviously grew up, born and raised in Eastchester. It's really exciting for him to come back and coach at his old alma mater, as it is for Artie Troilo at Harrison.
Right. There's Sam Maldonado. He is the Mr. Everything player for Harrison's. Also their kicker, their punter. He returns kicks, star defensive player, and certainly star offensive player. And he will get set to kick it off. And he's only a junior, 6'2", 215. He'll put his foot into it as we get ready for action. And here it goes. Eric Johnson takes it, number 9 for the Eagles. And he's knocked down by Mike Zampella, makes the tackle for Harrison, and it'll give us a chance to look at the Eagles offense and their quarterback, Joe Tarsia, a sophomore transfer from Riverdale, 5'10", 160 pounds, and he'll be calling the signals today and for hopefully the next 3 years for Fred DiCarlo's Eagles.
Yeah, he's only a sophomore. He's very coachable. Fred DiCarlo said he's learning more and more and more week in and week out. And he's a kid that Freddie thinks can be a star quarterback at Eastchester down the road.
So from the 25, the Eagles will have it. First offensive series. The running backs, Johnson and Phyllis, are behind him. And on first down, Johnson gets the carry. Actually, that was the fullback up the middle. Let's take a look at the Eastchester offense, Pete. And we mentioned Johnson and Phyllis, they're 2-star running backs, each with over 300 yards rushing so far on the season. Trotta, the other runner, and then Fortuno and Chris Carapella, the tight end. On the offensive line, John DiArco, highlighted, will not start an offense because of an ankle injury, so Brian Howe will take his place.
Fred DiCarlo gave it to Anthony Trotta on the first play to try to cross Harrison up a little bit.
This is Phyllis, and he's got running room. Phyllis has one Husky to beat, and he's knocked out of bounds. Sensational tackle by Matt Miller in the secondary, and Pete, they had it working that time. Doug Phyllis wide right.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a huge play for Eastchester right off the bat. They have to utilize their speed. They have to utilize their breakaway ability, hold on to the ball. I mean, as a confidence booster, having Doug Phyllis get outside and go for that kind of yardage on the second play of the game has got to be huge for Eastchester.
50 yards for Doug Phyllis.
And it really exemplifies this breakaway speed that Eastchester has with Phyllis and Johnson.
50 yards on the, that's why I got confused on the first play. It looked like he was going wide to Phyllis, but it went inside to Trotter. Trotter that time decoy, and Phyllis went for 50. And there's right up the middle. First time we saw Eric Johnson, and who will maybe get one. It'll give us a chance to look at the Husky defense. They play front five, highlighted by Mark Maraglino Jr. Actually, 4 of their front 5 are juniors. And Maraglino and Maldonado, the stars there. And then the linebackers and the secondary. Dean Marino, maybe their best linebacker, maybe their best defensive player, and then a secondary filled with 3 juniors, a young team. 2nd 9, this is Phyllis's second carry of the day, and he fights his way on a second effort. Miller once again made the tackle, as well as Maraglino, and that time Phyllis had nothing. He made 3 yards by himself.
Yeah, I mean, Eastchester's a team that relies, their running game relies on outside quickness, on getting their guards out and pulling, trying to get to the corner as quick as possible. They're not going to have much luck running against Calandruccio in the middle and Lambiazzi and Maraglino, because they're big, they're tough, and they're strong, and the Eastchester offensive line is not really all that experienced, and they're still kind of green.
First 3rd down for Eastchester. We've played 2 minutes. They're in good field position. Johnson fighting his way to the 20. He'll be 5 yards short. And it'll bring up a 4th down, and maybe the first decision of the day for Fred DiCarlo.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Freddie's going to go for it. What they do here, what Eastchester's offense is predicated on, is a lot of motion. They get both of the wings out, as you saw in that play. Phyllis goes in motion. It makes it very difficult for the linebackers to key on one person when you've got a 1-2 combination like Johnson and Phyllis. So that's going to be the tough thing for Harrison. They have to identify formation and play and keep with the ball as opposed to keeping with the runner.
Fortuno lined up. Bottom of your screen. Tarsia looks for him. He goes down. Sam Maldonado on the sack, and the Huskies have held on 4th down. Sensational play by Maldonado.
Yeah, I mean, for Eastchester, as I said, Eric, the tough thing is going to be that interior of the offensive line. Brian Howell and Mike Mazzi at the guards, Mike Lucenti at the center. Right there, you got a center who's a sophomore, and you've got 2 juniors on the offensive line, and Antonio Diaz-Albertini and Brian Howell, who's filling in for John DiArco, and it's going to be tough to block guys like Sam Maldonado in those situations. So Eastchester has got to find a way to really protect their quarterback and protect their ball runners from the onslaught that Harrison can throw at you.
There's the quarterback, Matt Handelsman, senior, number 10, the QB for the Huskies. First down for Harrison from their own 28. And Maraglino, the fullback, on first down will pick up 3, give us a chance to look at the Husky offense. And they are led, of course, by Sam Maldonado. Sensational tailback, already with 5 touchdowns, over 340 yards rushing this year. Will be the all-time rusher, all-time touchdown leader when his career's done here at Harrison. Maraglino, you just saw the fullback. Dan Marino, 3-year starter at tight end. There's the offensive line, led by Calandruccio, Lambiasi, and Haynes. 2nd and 7. Maldonado's first carry, great effort, and he's right at the first down marker. And it'll be close. We'll have to see what happens as we look at the Eastchester defense in the meantime. And not a deep Eastchester defense. Their front 4, Mazzi, the senior, the Arco, will play defense, and then a sophomore and a junior. And then the rest of the Eagles defense, Chris Carapella, perhaps the team leader on defense. Eric Johnson's been their leading tackler so far.
Yeah, the key for Eastchester defensively is going to be Mike Campanelli in the middle. Eastchester had a little situation, Freddie DiPaolo had a situation with a player by the name of Mike Cooperman where he dismissed him from the team this week. He was the starting middle linebacker, maybe one of their best defensive players. He was also a running back. Freddie chose, because of disciplinary reasons, to dismiss him from the team. Mike Campanelli's got to step in. He has got to come up strong. And I'll tell you something. Talk about, you know, first game jitters. The guy you want to step out against is Sam Maldonado. I don't think so. Not game 1.
So it was a first down at the 39. Maldonado fumbles the football, but he recovers it. And he's tackled for the Eagles by Mike Mazzi. Nice play defensive and near disaster that time for the Huskies and Maldonado.
Yeah, Eastchester's getting some good penetration from the outside so far, and Chris Carapella made a good play on the first play of the game. They're doing what they need to do to stop Maldonado so far, and the other thing is they need to capitalize on mistakes. If Maldonado's going to put it on the ground, if Handelsman's going to have a bad pitch and put the ball on the ground, Eastchester's got to get on it. You're not going to get many opportunities from a team like Harrison in that state.
Good look at Fred DeCarlo. Teams haven't played since 1985. That used to be one of the top rivalries in the county, and now they're playing for the first time in 13 seasons. Maldonado straight through, first down and more. He's heading for the end zone. He is hit from behind by Johnson. So a touchdown-saving tackle for Eric Johnson, much of the same way Matt Miller had one earlier for the Huskies, and he matches the Phyllis run. Great run, Maldonado.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a couple of times, Eric. I mean, it's basically just a trap up the middle. They get a guard. It looks like a guard and a tackle. Justin Haynes even pulled out. They get that inside trap, and Maldonado finds a little crease. You have got to tackle him within 3 yards of the line of scrimmage, or you're going to be chasing him downfield, as Eastchester just had to do.
He's sort of an inside runner and an outside runner in one. Does very well on the sweeps, but that time straight up the middle. Great blocking. And as we mentioned, came in today, 41 rushes, 347 yards, 5 touchdowns in 3 games. Maraglino. And a burst on the second effort, and the junior will be close to a first down. Good effort that time. For, you know, it's easy to forget about all the other runners for Harrison and Maraglino. Carry for the second time there. Nice run. He does have a first down.
Yeah, I mean, he's a tough runner, 6 foot, 235, only a junior. Both backfield members, only a junior for Harrison. Only juniors, I should say, for Harrison. They are going to be a force to be reckoned with next year. Right there, that last play for Eastchester was a perfect example of making little mistakes that can hurt you badly. Mike Campanelli he comes on the blitz. Freddie DeCarlo sends his linebackers virtually every play. Campanelli comes on the blitz, runs right by Maraglino, and he gets the first down.
From the 13, Maldonado forcing his way on the right, and he's just very tough to bring down. And it's going to be hard for Eastchester to win this game if they can't tackle him better.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, Eric, here's a good example. Once he gets past the linebackers, look how tough he is to tackle. The secondary people cannot tackle him. You've got to tell him belt or lower, wrap your arms around his legs and just hold on for dear life almost with Sam Maldonado.
Maldonado got 11 there. They're ready with 55 yards rushing on 4 carries for Maldonado. It's a triple set backfield here. Jamie Telesco joins him. Maldonado. Touchdown. Sam Maldonado. Followed fouled his blockers, and our first score of the game. It didn't take long. Exciting offense here, and he has his 6th touchdown of the year.
This kid is just a true classic running back. Puts his head down, barrels into the middle of the line, and just falls forward into the end zone. Now he's, I guess, 1 touchdown away from breaking the Harrison all-time record. We had a little discrepancy on that number prior to the game. Artie Troilo didn't know what his own record was, which is kind of interesting.
Well, it's interesting. Sometimes they include the bowl game touchdowns. Sometimes they don't. But unofficially, we have Art Troilo with 34 career touchdowns. This would give Maldonado the 34th as well. But either way, Hayes, a junior, he's not going to break the record. He's going to shatter it.
Yeah, he's going to shatter a lot of records here at Harrison.
The extra point for Harrison is perfect. Bill Heron makes it 7-0. So the Huskies have themselves a 7-0 lead. And Pete, this is an explosive Harrison football team.
Yeah, they are. They are extremely explosive. It's kind of interesting. They are big in areas. They're not a big team, you know, in this conference. They don't need to be a huge team, but they've got some big size up front. You know, you've got Lambiazzi's at 210. You've got Calandruccio's 280. Justin Hayes goes 220. Even your tight end, Dean Marino, 5'8", goes 215. They're big in spots, and that's what makes them effective. They get a good contact up front. They lock up with their defensive player, and then once you let, like we said, Maldonado or Maraglino get into the secondary, it's all over.
He just had a shot of Artie Troilo. He is quite a record. 71-37-1 for Harrison. 8-1 last year. Year in and year out does a great job, and you know he's developed into one of the best coaches in Section 1.
You know, I remember when Artie started 13 years ago, a lot of people said, well, you know, he's one of those guys who's a great player. You know, who's to say he was a great coach? His dad, longtime athletic director. You know, they said, let him prove himself. Artie Troilo has proved himself. He was a great player, and he's become a great coach in Section 1.
Justin Haynes will kick off for Harrison, who lead at 7-0. And the Eagles will get the ball trailing for the first time. Their running backs also return the kicks, Johnson and Phyllis. Johnson feels the missed kickoff, and he goes downward.
You know, something to keep an eye on, Eric. Sam Maldonado had an early run, and it looked like he may have twisted his ankle. And he was a little bit hobbled. He did get the big run there, the 50-yard run, and then the touchdown. But interestingly enough, he didn't kick off on that last kickoff. That was Justin Haynes who kicked off. So it's kind of interesting to see, you know, what's going to develop with Sam Maldonado there. Right now, he's sitting on the bench. And, you know, I don't know, maybe it's just a minor twinge, but you know, that could be a devastating blow if he ever had to come out of the game for Harrison.
From the 19 on first down for Eastchester. Gain of just a couple. Johnson was the ball carrier.
You know, Fred DiCarlo talked to me this week and said that his offensive line is very inexperienced, even though he has some seniors. He's got some size, but they just lack really that killer instinct to go out there and really manhandle a defensive line. And I'll tell you, if you've got to replay that last play, it's a great example of it. Young Diaz Albertini locks up with his defensive player. Defensive player just almost pushes him into the backfield. The kid has him outweighed by 30 or 40 pounds. They have to be aggressive up front to be effective.
From the 20, Joe Tarsia. Tarsia, the sophomore QB. For Eastchester, hasn't thrown a pass as of yet. And that time the pitch went to Trotta.
Yeah, Eastchester looks a little bit out of sync. On that last play, Trotta gets the pitch. He looked like he was almost surprised that the pitch was coming at him. You have always got to be ready to take the ball on every play if you're a running back. And Anthony Trotta, as a senior, you know, should probably know better. Freddie DiCarlo says he's got some good hands, but he's only 5'7", 145. It's a tough position to play when you're that small.
Harrison defense in good situation here. 3rd and a long 10. 3:45 to go first quarter. Huskies lead 7-0. Trotta in motion. Passing situation, you would think, for Tarsia. Throws and broken up. He had his man Phyllis, and an excellent defensive play that time in the Husky secondary by Dean Marino, one of the better defenders for Harrison, senior linebacker. And did a really good job reading that, Pete.
Yeah, he got out. He knew Phyllis was about a step and a half behind him, but he made a great angle to the ball, got his hand on it. I tell you, he was almost in a position, you hate to say you should have, but they say you get your hands on it, you got to pick it off. He was in a position where he could have just put two hands on it, taken it, and it would have been just clear, but green grass into the end zone for little Dean Marino there.
Eric Johnson's the Eagle punter. This is our first punt of the football game, and it is not a good one. It goes out of bounds at the 43-yard line. So it'll be 25-yard punt, but no return.
That's a difficult situation for Johnson. He's kicking into the wind there. You want to try to get as good a kickoff as you can, and kicking into the wind is not an easy situation, and as we saw, it just kind of knocked it right down, as they say, and Harrison's going to get it on Eastchester's 44-yard line.
Yeah, good point you brought up about the wind. It is a windy day here in Harrison.
Yeah, it's perfect conditions in terms of on-the-field conditions. Temperature, it's not sunny, it's not really hot, but the problem today is definitely going to be the wind.
Maldonado is in the game, back in the game. 3:23 to go. Eric Lubitz, Peter Arcello will be joined in a little bit by Rob Astorino. He's on the sidelines. Maraglino firing his way, and he gets another couple. Another good second effort, and he'll be close to a first down. He gets 8. That's the third carry by Maraglino, and he's got 22 yards. Interesting story about Mark Maraglino. His brother actually played for Rye High School. So he said back when his brother was a football player, he was actually rooting for Rye.
Well, things change.
Yes.
The interesting thing, John DiArco is not in the defensive lineup for Eastchester. He is really kind of one of their cogs, their stalwarts in the middle. He's not in the game. He's had a bad ankle. His left ankle's been bad for a while. Actually sat out all last season with a bad back, and you could really see that the loss of him inside is really hurting Eastchester so far.
35-yard line. Matt Handelsman for the Huskies. Maraglino's got a first down. That time they ran left. And that'll be plenty to give Harrison their 4th first down, and their line is doing a good job. This is a brand new line. This line not here last year.
Yeah, but you just can't make it that easy, and so far Eastchester's made it very easy for Harrison to chop up big chunks of yardage at a time.
Now Pete DiArco has entered the game, so he's playing with the bad ankle. So the Eagles missing a player for the disciplinary action and some injuries. You feel it's not 100%?
I'm sorry, Eric, it's really hurt them now.
28-yard line, first down. Maldonado again left. And a great job by the offensive line. They're only 2 juniors, but no starters returned from last year for the Huskies, but they're doing a nice job, especially the left side, Salvatore Dragon and Justin Haynes.
Yeah, I tell you, that's a pretty big side of the line over there with Dragon going 180 and Haynes going 220, and then you throw in the tight end, Dean Marino, 215, and they even switch in junior Billy Heron a little bit at guard, and he comes in at 210. That's a pretty big offensive line for this level of ball.
All right, we'll have a timeout, our first of the game by the Huskies. They lead it by a score of 7-0. It's been the Sammy Maldonado show so far. And Rob Astorino is on the sideline. Let's head down to Robert. Robert.
Gentlemen, about 18 years ago in some dark chemistry lab in Harrison High School, there were 2 beakers. One was labeled Zonka, another Sanders. Somehow they morphed, they spilled together, and they created some new specimen. It's called Maldonado. Boy, he is just tremendous. He's got that Zonka-like fortitude where he just goes forward, and he also looks like Barry Sanders where he could just step and go all over the place. Up to you.
Yeah, Rob, I mean, certainly a great effort for Maldonado. Don't forget, next week we'll be at Fox Lane for the Yorktown Cornhuskers and the Fox Lane Foxes, coached by Dick Palladino at Fox Lane. Yorktown certainly a top football team. I mean, Yorktown has won a state championship a couple years ago, and they are undefeated so far this year, and they are looking to win the sectional in Class A, and that'll be a tough game for them next week at Fox Lane.
That'll be a very tough game because Fox Lane is probably the best 1 and 2 team in all of Section 1. Dick Palladino, longtime Scarsdale coach, has had a tremendous amount of success wherever he's gone, and he has built a nice little program there at Fox Lane, a program that had been down for a while, had really kind of sunk into some pretty low level, and he's really brought it back, and I think next week will be a pretty good game.
Minute 36 to go, off the timeout, 2nd and short for Harrison. They just need 1. to get the first down. We had movement on the right side of the line for Harrison. That was number 6, Justin Williams. First-year player looked to have moved, Pete.
Yeah, they actually...
Harrison, 5 yards assessment.
All right, so...
Repeat, second.
You know, I just can't get that out of my system. I did that last week. I always talk over the referee. That probably goes back to my playing days when I used to always argue with all the referees and tell them how bad their calls were. I have this thing. When I hear a referee talk, I just feel the need to talk right over.
Well, Pete, that's a good thing you brought up because you did play at Eastchester, and last year they had a good season, 6-2, and they're trying to get back to their glory days of sensational teams.
But it's not going to be easy for Fred DiCarlo. They have really no ancillary program down below.
Maldonado's nice tackle by Johnson, who got him by the ankle and wouldn't let go. So there you had 2 strong players, Maldonado and Johnson. Johnson just refused to let him out of his sight, but Maldonado still got 3, and it'll be 4th down, or 3rd down.
It's funny, Eric, you talk about Eric Johnson. This is a kid, I mean, look how tough he is. He gets in the hole, comes out of that linebacker position, gets in the hole, makes a good tackle, doesn't let Maldonado go. Freddie DiCarlo said, I was going through his lineup and he was telling me, you know, where his strengths and weaknesses were, and he said, Eric Johnson is a kid who could have played when you played. I happen to play with Freddie's brother, Tommy DiCarlo, who was a great player, an all-county player at Eastchester as well, and the quality of players has become a little bit different, but Eric Johnson's a kid. He's really a throwback.
And Maldonado is fighting for the first down. He was grabbed by Phyllis, but Maldonado refusing to go down and see if he has enough. Phyllis hit him right at the line of scrimmage.
Phyllis got in there a little bit late coming off of that outside blitz, and he just got Maldonado a little bit past the line of scrimmage, and you know, Maldonado's the type of kid, you're not going to knock him back. So if you don't get him behind the line of scrimmage, he's going to get positive yardage. 2
plays in a row they did. Johnson got him on the 2nd down carry and Phyllis on the 3rd, but another second effort gives Maldonado 2 yards, and there will be 4th down and inches. Ball should be around the 20.
I don't think there's a running back in the county that I would rather have with the ball in his hands on 4th and inches than Sam Maldonado.
No, but you know, they might give it to Maraglino because he's been tough to stop too. Their junior fullback who's run 4 times so far.
Maraglino, I mean, he's a tough runner as well. I mean, you could give it to him just as much, but I'll tell you, I would not be afraid to give it to Sam Maldonado.
There you take a look at the B-South standings. Eastchester and Harrison at 2-1. Sleepy Hollow a perfect 3-0. Don't forget Harrison's loss, not in the league. And they give it to nobody. Handelsman keeps it himself, and it's good enough for a yard and a first down for the Huskies. They're 5th of the quarter.
Actually, you know, we just saw the standings in the league there. The matchup that's really going to set up is going to be an undefeated Sleepy Hollow team against Harrison with 1 loss, as you said, Eric, out of the league. It was a loss to Brewster, first game of the year, 15-13. But what we're looking at, the matchup is going to be Sleepy Hollow Harrison. You talk about power against speed. That could be one of the premier matchups in Section 1 this year.
All right, Pete, we've played a quarter here at Feely Field. It's the Huskies 7, Eagles nothing. We'll be back. Eric Lubitz, Peter Arciello, Rob Astorino, our entire Metro Sports crew. And it is the Huskies 7-0 after 1 quarter of play. The touchdown coming on a Sammy Maldonado 2-yard touchdown run. And there you see it. Happy to have you along with us. And the Huskies have the football. A first down after the Handelsman sneak on the 17-yard line. Pete, Matt Handelsman, there we are, and there's a good look at us and the field behind us. Nice field here at Harrison, New York. We'll be here in 2 weeks for the Harrison Rye game as well. So that probably the biggest rivalry left in Westchester County.
Boy, talk about an unflattering shot. I mean, we've got to, I think we need to shoot that from the other side of the field. Interesting point, Eric. Harrison has a rotating quarterback system, but Donnie Morsico has been sick all week, didn't practice Thursday. We may not see him today.
There's Telesco. And he's got first down yardage. So, you know what, just when you got a key on Maldonado every play, maybe Maraglino, now they give it to the wingback that time, Jamie Telesco Sr., and he's got himself 11 yards.
Well, the thing is, you can't key on anybody with Harrison. You've got Telesco, you got Justin Williams, you've got Maraglino, and then you've got Sam Maldonado. But, you know, Justin Williams is a tough, a 200-pound, one of the captains. I'm sorry, Jamie Telesco, one of the senior, 5'10", 200 pounds, one of the Harrison captains, a tough runner. And, you know, he just really bowled over the Eastchester defense there.
Mike Campanelli made the tackle for the Eagles. It looks to be either Mazzi, 58, or Nalesko, 88.
I don't think it's Nalesko. I just saw him come off. It may be Fortuno, because it had to be somebody in the secondary. And I'll tell you something, Jamie Telesco just rolled him over.
Good run for Telesco. Telesco caught an 82-yard touchdown pass in the first week against Brewster in Harrison's 15-13 loss. A lot of people already pointing toward a Harrison-Brewster rematch for the Class B sectional championship, and those are just two sensational teams. And the winner, you got to think a good chance to win the state championship.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, both of these teams are probably, you know, the cream of the crop in terms of their conference coming out of Section 1, and it is going to be a great matchup if they get to the conference finals down the road.
It is Mike Mazzi, who's injured, 5'11" senior, 190-pounder for the Eastchester Eagles. Two-way starter as well, starts at left guard, starts on defense, and they're not a deep team, these Eagles, not a lot of players on the sidelines.
Yeah, and I honestly don't know what Fred DiCarlo will do in terms of maybe not as much defensively, but offensively, what he's going to do if Mike Mazzi can't play guard. He's already missing his other starting guard in John DiArco on offense, and it's going to be interesting to see what he can do defensively. It looks to be some kind of back injury to Mazzi, the 5'11", 190-pound senior.
All right, Rob Afterino has some information. Robert.
The first quarter, as he spoke to his team, he said, you know, they're not doing anything different. They're not doing anything we haven't seen in the films, but they're killing us on the left side. So what he's doing is he's slanting the linebackers over, and he's creating a lot of pressure on the secondary to come up towards the line and make the stop at the line of scrimmage. If they break at the line of scrimmage, they're gone, and if they decide to shuffle the deck a little bit, Harrison, and go to a pass, it could create big problems for Eastchester. Eric?
All right, Rob, I think they're already creating big problems for Eastchester.
And I don't think Eastchester needs any more problems than they already have. They're a very thin team. You know, we talked a little bit before about how tough it's going to be for Fred DiCarlo. Let's talk about something. He has no JV or freshman program, just a modified program that has very bad numbers. He doesn't really see, you know, too much coming up through the pipeline. So, you know, this is a program that may be in serious jeopardy in the next few years.
Well, a lot of schools, they might go up in enrollment, but doesn't necessarily mean they have more people playing football. From the 5, Maldonado will score his second touchdown of the day, and it is 13-0. So first a 2-yard Maldonado burst, now a 5-yard run. It's 13-0. He now has 7 touchdowns for the year, and unofficially is either tied or now has become the all-time leading touchdown man for the Harrison Huskies.
Yeah, I mean, he's the type of kid that you've got to attack him from the outside in, meaning your ends and linebackers have to be strong on the outside, pinching him in, and your interior linemen have to come up big with really stifling him inside. And so far we've seen Eastchester hasn't done either, and that's been a huge problem for them.
Maldonado himself kicks the extra point, and we have ourselves a 14-0 Harrison Huskies lead.
They are really flexing their muscles today. You know, interesting thing that Artie Troilo told us before the game, Sam Maldonado has not carried the ball more than 15 times all year in one game. In one game, not more than 15 carries, and I think, Eric, he had 8 in the first quarter and a couple here in the second quarter already, and over 100 yards already. He is well on the way to having one of his typical big games.
Yeah, he's now 9 for 103 yards already, just 30 seconds in to quarter 2. Well, Pete, maybe this will give us a chance to look at the stats through 1 quarter of play here at Feely Field, home of the Harrison Huskies. And we mentioned 103 yards rushing for Maldonado, 28 yards rushing for Maraglino. And that's basically it. Harrison now with 6 first downs. And they're just controlling the offensive line of scrimmage. Eastchester had a great 50-yard run for Phyllis. After that, not much in that quarter.
Well, you know, the thing was, we talked about the momentum that it gave them and the confidence that big run gave them. But on the flip side of the coin, what happened was they didn't get the first down deep in Harrison's territory, and it took away all the positive that it had built. And it's tough to come back, especially when Sam Maldonado's going to run down the field on you like he's done so far.
For the Eagles, one of their up men. Take the kick. It's Josh Brand, 99. And Eastchester will have the football with 11:19 to go, down 2 scores at their own 32.
Let's see what Fred DiCarlo is going to do here. I think he's actually brought John DiArco into the game to play a little offense with Mike Mazzi out. So, oh no, I'm sorry, he hasn't done that.
We'll look at the Eastchester schedule a little bit later. Here we go. First down, 11:19 left. And Johnson's tripped up. Nice play that time in the secondary. Charles Veed, junior linebacker, got the job done that time for the Huskies. Plays both ways. Also, Mark Maraglino.
Yeah, it looks like Fred DiCarlo's brought in Dean Happ, 170-pound sophomore, to take that left guard position that Mazzi's going to leave vacant. And that's the guy he's going to face, Charles Veet, the inside linebacker for Artie Troilo. And I tell you something, his 2 linebackers are absolutely tough.
Second down, Phyllis. And once again, Veet makes the tackle.
Eric, if we can get a look at that last play, I'm going to illustrate something that shows you what confidence will do for you. I mean, Harrison, they're 2 linebackers. They've got the 14-0 lead. The 2 linebackers know that the key to stopping Eastchester is you've got to maintain what Phyllis and what Eric Johnson. Watch Dean Marino, just knifes right in there, totally disrupts the play, and then, you know, a safety comes up and maps it up there. Mike Zampella mops it up by tackling Phyllis. But that's what you can do defensively with a 14-0 lead, and the confidence that a team like Harrison has because of what they do offensively.
On third down, watch out. Sam Maldonado and Donnie Marsico make the tackle in the secondary, and that time Garcia was just dead meat.
Eastchester is just right now totally undermanned with DiArco out, with Mazzi out on the offensive line. They are so, you know, depleted that Artie Troilo's just sending the house, especially on a 3rd and long where you know he's going to try to throw the ball. Send Maldonado, you know, send Marsico. Let these guys run up the field, knife through that offensive line. And I'd say it's really falling apart for Eastchester now. They have to call a timeout on 4th down. Don't have enough people out on the punt team. And this is the type of stuff that a guy who comes from success. Freddie DiCarlo played on very successful Eastchester Blue Devil teams, played on very successful Eastchester High School teams. This is the type of you know, mistakes that a guy like Freddie just cannot tolerate.
All right, we look at the Eastchester schedule. They started off 2-0, though, with a huge win over Pelham, then a come from behind against Pearl River. And then the toughest part of the schedule, the Sleepy Hollow and Harrison games. Lost last week to Sleepy, 32-8. A good Sleepy Hollow, quick team.
Yeah, I mean, Sleepy Hollow is very strong. As we said, it was 6-0 at the half, and then Sleepy Hollow ran back the second half kickoff and really put the game away. Eastchester may have been lulled into a false sense of security playing Pelham and Pearl River early in the season with 2 big victories. And Freddie DiCarlo said that. He said, we're not as good as everyone thinks we may be at 2-1.
3 possible winnable games still remain on the schedule, though Somers is tough. Johnson to punt for the 2nd time. And he gets a good one off here. And it hit a Harrison player. Marsico picks it up. And Johnson will make the tackle. So Johnson not only does the punting, but he makes the tackle, but there is a marker down. Ball's at midfield, but it probably will come back against the Huskies. But either way, they will get the football, Peter.
Yeah, it looked like a clip which should start them back at about the 35, their own 35, which is in their past 3 series has been the worst field position they've faced so far. See why there'd be much decision here. It's a clip, and you need to send it back.
It'll be the second time the Huskies have been penalized today. Only one. Rather no.
Harrison! That's a 15-yard penalty. And first down.
Yeah, 15 yards is a lot on a position. See if we can catch it.
It might have been number 20 there, and I'll try to get his number.
That's
so
Matt Miller.
Matt Miller, so I could really embarrass him. He just got behind one of the Eastchester players. I'll tell you something. Blocking on the punt, your punt return team, is the toughest block you can make. It's even tougher than the kickoff, because the kickoff, they're only coming one way. The punt, it depends on where the runner goes with the ball, and then you have to adjust your block to that way. And sometimes, you know, you get almost caught by happenstance where the guy has his back to you and you're just trying to lock up with somebody, and you get caught for that 15.
Miller saved the touchdown on Phyllis's 52-yard run. Handelsman throwing for the first time. He's got Telesco. Tackled by Phyllis, but not after a big gain and a first down. So it's the first we've seen of Matt Handelsman throwing the football.
Yeah, I mean, he has the ability to throw the ball. As we had mentioned before, Donnie Morsico probably won't play much at quarterback. He's been sick all week. He got it out to Jamie Telesco, had a big run that set up the last Harrison touchdown down to inside the 5. And Telesco made a good catch, turned the ball upfield, and ran over a couple of Eastchester defensive backs again to get some positive yardage. But, you know, Matt Handelsman's going to throw the ball. He's a senior. He's a captain. I tell you, that's a great luxury to have. Two good, solid quarterbacks who are both captains and both seniors.
Back to the running game. And it's Maraglino, maybe one for the Huskies. In there for Eastchester, Chris Carapella making another tackle. Had a bunch already so far in this football game. Can you have too many quarterbacks if you have to? A lot of teams, coaches just like to have one quarterback. But Harrison not only has two, although we haven't seen it here today because Marsico has been sick, so he hasn't played defense but not offense, and Handelsman's gone the whole way. But a lot of coaches think, well, that's confusing to have two. Do you go with the hot one? Do you switch series? Do you go if you have a passing down? How do you do that?
Well, you know, the interesting thing is, in Harrison's case, they have two quarterbacks that are very, very similar. A lot of teams, especially on the collegiate level, a lot of these schools have two quarterbacks that are completely different. One can run the ball, run the option, let's say. The other one can throw the ball. For Harrison, it's completely different. They have two guys that are exactly the same, so you really don't lose much. Sometimes it can mess up an offensive lineman with the cadence and how a quarterback runs his offense, but I mean, they're basically the same.
Finishing off the Eastchester schedule, they have home games after this, Tappan Zee and Somers, and then they finish up against Dobbs, Ferry, Hastings. But we did want to look at the Harrison schedule. You know, they lost the Brewster game 15-13 without Matt Handelsman. He did not play, one of their two quarterbacks, so missed that game. And then you think they were mad they lost the first game getting into week 2?
Yeah, I've got to believe that Tappan Zee got a little bit of frustration taken out on them. You know, they've got Eastchester, as we're seeing here this week. Dobbs Ferry, you know, not that strong. They should probably, you know, beat them. Then they go into two big ones. You know, the Rye-Harrison game year in and year out, regardless of what the records are, always means something. And then they go to Sleepy Hollow, which could be interesting. Playing on the road, it has a lot more significance than people think in high school football.
And it also will be for the league, you would imagine. So second down from the 50. It's a cold early October day, and Maldonado gets 5 or 6. And again, can't say enough about the offensive line. Carapella makes the tackle for the third consecutive play.
Yeah, the offensive line has done a great job. They've really taken advantage of an Eastchester team that has been a little bit, you know, depleted. You know, Fred DiCarlo said coming in that he was going to try to spell Doug Phillips, on the defensive side and let him sit down a little bit because he takes such a pounding on the offensive side. But he's just not in a position to do that. He just doesn't have enough people to fill in.
On third down, Sammy left, Sammy right. And Sammy's second effort right to the first down marker. Pete, Eastchester had him about 3 times. And Maldonado refuses to go down, knows where the yard marker is, and it'll be very, very close. He needed 4.5 or so. And He about got it.
Well, we said it before, Eric. You can't tackle this kid up high. Doug Phillips gets in there, tries to give him a little arm tackle, not going to work. The other arm tackle's not going to work. And then, Johnson's got to finish him off, but he finishes him off 5 yards down the field.
They will measure it. There's 7:14 to go. The Huskies, thanks to Maldonado, already lead it by a score of 14-0. Touchdown run in the first, touchdown run in the second. And he will be short. And now do you go here, 4th down and half a yard from the 42 of Eastchester.
If you have Sam Maldonado, you go 4th and 9.5 yards when you're in the other team's side of the field. We saw the last time they did the little quarterback sneak for the 1st down. I mean, that's an option. Maraglino's the option. Maldonado's the option. Telesco's the option. Do I need to give you some more? I mean, they are a very, very deep team.
And very young as well. The running backs are juniors, but many of the linemen are juniors too. Calandruccio, Lambiasi, Heron, Veet, all juniors. Miller, sophomore, Zampella, Williams, juniors as well. So a young football team, and they continue to have a good one each and every year. The Huskies, nary a year goes by that they have a board team. And on 1st down, now you have a 1st down, and that is number 3 for Harrison, Marsico, who's in the game for the 1st time, and he gets the 1st down. So he's the other quarterback we talked about. It's his first offensive play, good for 2 yards.
It's kind of interesting if we get a look at that last play. Harrison is dominating the offensive line so much that Marsico takes a snap and takes a step left. And then he almost went through the tackle hole on a quarterback sneak. I mean, now I don't know if Artie Troilo wanted him to do that. I don't know if the kid just, kind of ad-libbed and did it on his own. But when you dominate the offensive line like they're doing, you can do things like that.
Velasco, the tackle. Maldonado. Down the sideline he goes. Touchdown number 3 for Sammy Maldonado. This one 38 yards, but it will come back. It looks like it will come back, but there we talked about the outside earlier. That was Maldonado to the outside. He's quick.
He's very quick. I mean, he's got the whole package. He's got the quickness, he's got the power, he's got the speed. But, we're finding situations where, I tell you, Eastchester is in the right position at the right time. They're just not making the tackles. I mean, if you get a good look at that play, and I've got to look it up, I mean, Eastchester's so depleted. It looks like Dean Happ, who's thrown in the offensive guard, has now got to fill in a little bit of defensive linebacker. He almost had Maldonado in the backfield. But if you don't put a helmet on him and a shoulder pad on him and wrap up on him, you might as well not even touch him, because he's going to either run over you or run around you.
Repeat, 1st down.
Harrison penalized 3 times, 30 yards in this football game, and that's a mistake for the Huskies where you don't want in a close game, and that's a game killer here on a 38-yard touchdown. It'll still be 1st down. And 7, midway through quarter 2. Have a feeling Maldonado will have a chance for his 3rd touchdown at some future point, and it might be sooner than we think. He ran the same play as Johnson finally knocked him out of bounds. Why is he so hard to tackle?
Well, it's so hard to tackle because he's just allows him to get ahead of steam. He's not getting touched until he gets into the secondary, and that's just a case of, I mean, look at that blocking up front. Justin Haynes pushes his guy 8 yards down the field. Justin Haynes just locked up with Doug Phillips and just drove him 8 yards down the field. I mean, you just can't allow that to happen. The biggest problem Eastchester defensively is they do not shed blockers. And it's something that I'm sure Fred DiCarlo's worked on. I'm sure Steve Boris has worked on, his defensive lineman. If you don't shed a blocker, you can't make a tackle. It's that simple, no matter how many times you're in the right position.
From the 22 of Eastchester, Maraglino, and he runs tacklers over as well. Oh, that was Campanelli.
Oh, gosh. No, I'm sorry, Eric. I
said it the other way.
Yeah, that's right. Maraglino hit Campanelli, and he hit him pretty hard, too. it's almost unfortunate to see it. It really bothers me because I went to Eastchester. I mean, you graduated from Eastchester as well, Eric, and it's tough to see this happen. But back in the early '80s and the '70s, and you see a bunch of alumni around the field here. We mentioned Tommy DiCarlo, Freddie DiCarlo, Anthony Madonna's down there. He played for Eastchester. This didn't happen back in those days. Aggressiveness was the one thing that you never had to worry about from an Eastchester football team.
Maldonado in another hold, it looks like. He'll have first down yardage and more, but we'll have to wait and see what the flag tells us.
It's a hold inside. It looked like it may have been on the guard, who I think is number 60. Well, it looks like they've switched some people around Harrison already. Chris Malfitano, it looks like, came in and he's spelling somebody, either a guard at center. It looks like he may have grabbed a hold of somebody's jersey.
It's a little bit of a sloppy sequence here for the Huskies. And it'll still be second down. It'll be second and long. There's 5:22 to go. Here in the first half, dominated by Harrison, led by Harrison, 14-0.
63 red. Repeat, second down.
Malfitano, who is the center for Harrison. So
I don't think a high school referee is supposed to give out a number.
well, that helps us.
I always thought that was a rule. Gosh, if they would have done that back in the early 80s, I would have really been a star.
Handelsman for the end zone to Marsico, and he can't hang on. And there was one quarterback throwing to another quarterback. Back there, Mike McAllister in the secondary for Eastchester.
It's a good pressure by Eastchester there on that play. Mike Mazzi, who's back in the game after it looked like he may have twisted his back, got some good penetration in there, puts a nice hit on Handelsman, but Handelsman still throws a nice pass, and it just kind of tips around there a little bit. And it looks like I'll have to get the number.
McAllister 17, and who's 20? There's no 20. Oh, it's Trotter because he's uniform.
That's right. Anthony Trotter, who's wearing number 20, made a good play and got back. I'm sure this is something that Freddie DiCarlo hasn't worked on much this week. Harrison is not a throwing team.
Well, Handelsman, though, is 1 for 1 heading to that throw, and that was a good one to his other quarterback, Marsico. Maldonado that time, not much. Probably the best containment of Maldonado all day by Eastchester. They ate him up after a gain of just 1. A host of Eagles in on the play.
It's a good play. We've talked about the Harrison dominance so far, but one thing that's interesting for Eastchester, if they stop Harrison here, 14 zip at the half is not as bad as it's looked to us. And if Eastchester can get the ball and get any kind of sustained drive, maybe a big play out of Phillips or Johnson, they can get right back in the ball game. But they've got to stop him here on 4th and looks like about 12 or 13.
Lucente and Carpella made the tackle. Michael Lucente is a sophomore. So it's 4th down and 13 as we approach the 4-minute warning here in quarter 2. And Handelsman will throw over the middle, has his man.
Real close.
Right at the marker. Dean Marino caught the football. Remember, he needed 13.
Yeah, you mentioned Mike Lucente on the Eastchester side. Only a sophomore, started every game last year as a freshman on the varsity defensive team.
And they did get it. So there's good knowledge of where you had to get for the first down. Marino caught it, and he's got it.
Well, it's also, a little bit of poor defensive play on the Eastchester side. You've got to know where the first down is, and you've got to keep a guy out of that area. I mean, you can't hit somebody downfield, but you've got to play the ball where you know where the first down is. I mean, just as much as the receiver needs to know where it is to get the first down, defensive player needs to know where it is to prevent the first down.
Marino, 3-year starter, also caught a touchdown pass against Brewster in the first week. He missed the game last week with an ankle.
Yeah, interesting story about Dean Marino. We've talked about the connections a little bit here. On the Eastchester side, we mentioned John DiArco. His dad coached me at Eastchester High School. Dean Marino's dad coached me on JV at Eastchester back in, I guess, the late 70s, 79 or 80. And it's just kind of amazing to now come back and see these kids as seniors playing the varsity football.
Yeah, stars as well. So it's first down at the 12. Harrison has an unbelievable 10 first half first downs. Maldonado likes that outside, and there's his 3rd touchdown. It's 20-0.
Well, we talked about, Eric, if they could have stopped him on 4th down and gotten the ball, they can keep in the ball game. At this point, the ship has left the port by now at 20, soon to be 21-0.
The 12-yard touchdown run for Sam Maldonado.
He is just so tough. He combines power and speed as good as anybody we've seen this year. And I tell you, I think as good as Mike Romano, who we saw week 1 against Mamaroneck against Portchester. Mike Romano's one of the top running backs in the county. I know Eastchester saw a great one last year in Dimmy from Sleepy Hollow, who leads the county in rushing. But I'll tell you something, Sam Maldonado is a kid at a junior who is going to be somebody to be reckoned with.
He misses the extra point. It's 20-0. Maldonado had 20 touchdowns last year. He now has 8 this year in not even 3.5 games. He is the all-time touchdown leader in the history of Harrison High School, passing Art Trail Jr., the current coach of Harrison, and he's got a 1.5 years of football left in him.
Yeah, we've talked about him so much. The kid is a superstar. He's got a perfect build for a tailback. He's got the speed. He's got the power. He's just a great runner. I tell you, I look forward to seeing him play next year.
We talked to him during the week. He says he definitely wants to play college ball for sure when his high school days are over. He had a rough week this week. He had his wisdom teeth removed. Couldn't even talk during the week, but he's letting his running do his talking.
Well, you see, now, if I'm Eastchester, if I know he's going to get his wisdom teeth removed, what I do is call up and cancel his appointment and see if I can reschedule it for Friday. And, try to get him messed up there so he gets him yanked out on Friday and then maybe doesn't play on Saturday. Because as it looks right now, that might be the only way they could stop him.
Doesn't sound very ethical.
Well, sometimes ethical doesn't win football games.
It's 20-0, and remember, they already have a 56-0 in the books this year, the Huskies do.
Well, I don't think it'll get that high. I think Artie Troilo has a little bit too much respect for Freddie DeCarlo and what Freddie's trying to build here. Artie remembers his first years. It's tough when you're the new guy on the block, and especially when you're undermanned. But, it's a situation where Sleepy Hollow and Harrison are the 2 games that Eastchester should lose. And what they have to do is they have to take whatever they can out of this and build for next week as Harrison goes offsides on kickoff.
Now their 4th penalty, so it hasn't been a mistake-free game for the Huskies.
And I'll tell you, that's about the only thing that Artie Troilo has to look at next week and say, hey, we've got to improve upon. They can't make mistakes like this to beat the Brewsters and the Rise and even the Sleepy Hollows.
Encroachment on the offense. Offside. 5 yards. Re-kick.
Of the teams that they're going to have left, for sure, Rye and Sleepy Hollow, you can't make those mistakes and beat those teams. And if they have to play Brewster in the section championship, mistakes like that are, what could certainly be their downfall.
Eagles would certainly like to do something here. They really have amassed nothing on offense other than the 50-yard Phyllis run.
Well,
just to give them a confidence booster heading into the half.
I'm sorry to talk over you there, Eric. I mean, that's exactly what they have to do. They have to get back to what worked for them. They ran that inside trap. They've got to try to maintain that and establish that and see if they can get some yards. Don't need to get in the end zone. Just get some yardage here and get in the locker room no worse than 21-0.
Johnson brings the football out near the 35. And there's a busy guy. The kicker, the punter, the returning kicker, and returning the punts. Running back and in on a lot of the tackles, Eric Johnson. Sensational player for Eastchester.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I'm impressed with what he's done so far. I'm impressed more than just how much he's done in terms of kicking and punting and all that other stuff. I'm really impressed with his effort and his aggressiveness so far. That has really been spectacular.
.315 to go, 20-0 Huskies. Tarsi had a throw and he goes down. Telesco got him, and you gotta feel bad for Joe Tarsia because he has just no time. And Telesco was with him the whole way.
Well, there's nothing he can do. I mean, his offensive line is so depleted. With John DiArco out, I mean, they're running by people. And, Freddie DeCarlo's even trying to keep some of his better players in to block in the backfield, and Doug Phyllis, and the guys are running right past the running backs as well. I mean, that looks like a jailbreak.
Jamie Telesco made the sack for Harrison. So 2nd and long, 13-yard loss on the play.
Here comes Telesco again.
And a fumble, and Harrison has it.
Eric, you want to talk about maybe one of the best defensive plays we have seen all year. If we get a replay of this last play, Jamie Telesco just goes right through the center and guard. Mike Lucenti tries to get a hat on him, doesn't even come close. He runs by him. Phyllis sees it. He tries to get out of the way, and Tarsia and Jamie Telesco just totally disrupts the play and then jumps on the fumble. I mean, that is maybe the best defensive play we've seen this year.
And don't forget, he's coming off the sack on the play before, so what a series that time for Telesco. The Huskies have the football, and they're inside the 15, threatening right now to put this ball game away in the first half. 14 yards away from their 4th score. And this guy's 14 away from his 4th score, and he busts into the secondary every single time. He's getting 6 or 7 yards, really, before he's really being hit.
It's really incredible. I mean, he is just absolutely manhandling. I shouldn't say he is. The Harrison offensive line is so manhandling the Eastchester defensive line that, you know, Maldonado, he's not getting touched until he's 7 yards down the field.
Maldonado, 15 rushes, 147 yards. Still in the first half.
Hasn't had more than 15 all year. Let's see if Artie, you know, breaks his string.
Rushes, that is, and he carries here. Will have his 16th. And he does. And he'll have another first down.
And a touchdown.
And his 4th touchdown. It is 26-0, and we are seeing an absolute show by number 5 for Harrison.
Well, I'll tell you, if I'm Artie Troilo, I'd tell Sam Maldonado to take his wisdom teeth and take his uniform off and go home and have some lunch. His day is about done. 4 TDs, over 140 or 50 yards, 16 carries. I don't want him to do anything else.
Yeah, it's 100. He's got to be tired. 151 yards. He's not going to kick the extra point this time. He was blocked last time. A well-deserved rest. And it's 26-0, and this is a powerhouse team Artie Troilo has, along with assistant Steve Williams, Joe Ornello. They'll go for 2. They'll go for 2. Handelsman, plenty of time, and it's incomplete, but we have a flag, and Johnson looks like he shoved down the intended receiver.
That's a tough call.
Zampella.
I'm sorry, Eric, that's a tough call because I don't know if the ball was catchable.
It was thrown high, yeah.
It was thrown high, and he only had one hand up there. I just don't know if it was catchable for him. And, you know, you just don't want to put any more salt in the wounds for Eastchester.
Well, speaking of that, Zampella
There
is...
we go. Downfield. Pass interference. Here. Offsetting penalties. Replay the down.
All right, so 2 penalties, so we'll redo it, but that doesn't help Zampella, who's still down.
I mean, that's the one thing that Artie Troilo has to watch for the second half. You just don't want any of your top players to go down with an injury at this point. You know, when you've got the 26, could be 27 or 28-point lead, you just don't want anybody to go down with an injury. You've got too many important games left on the schedule to have somebody go down now.
Now, but as a coach, you're also teaching, and you need to get experience to get better, so you got to keep your players in.
Well, I'm not saying take them out, but, you know, you could just as easily, you're not going to get anybody hurt on kicking an extra point. And Justin Haynes kicked off before when Maldonado didn't kick that 1 extra point, so why not just let him kick it again?
They still go for 2. Handelsman, and does he have his man? Yes, he does.
Dean Marino.
Yeah, it's Marino over the middle. Nice play by Handelsman, so they'll make up for that mixed extra point, and it is 28-0. Believe it or not, Harrison.
I tell you, Dean Marino's made 2 catches, one over the middle for the first down on 4th and 13, and excuse me, Eric, and that one for the extra point. I tell you, his dad never had hands like that. This kid's got some good hands for the senior tight end.
Don't forget, next week we'll be in Fox Lane, the Yorktown Cornhuskers and the Fox Lane Foxes. Pretty big rivalry, 2 North and Westchester football teams, and you can see it as usual on Metro Sports right here. Sundays at 9:30. Sundays 9:30 on MSG Metro. There's Marino. And there's our next game, and we're looking forward to it. Yorktown, former state champion, undefeated this year. They'd like a chance to get maybe another state championship, and who knows, they got a chance.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly have a chance. They've done a nice job. That Yorktown program has been strong for quite a while now, and you know, you look back in the years, you know, when they won the state championship, they had an old Yonkers guy who was an excellent coach, and Ronnie Santavica, and he did such a great job with those kids and really kind of guided them to the state championship. Took what some people thought was a team that wasn't as strong as they turned out to be, and really turned them into state champions, which was incredible. And now Dan Callahan has taken over the program and has done just as well.
Justin Haynes' kick is covered by one of the Eastchester up men. I don't think that was intentional. Certainly not trying on. I think Bobby Fisher fell on it for the Eagles. And now have the football with 1:29 to go in a deep, deep, deep hole, trailing 28-0. There you see it.
Well, for Eastchester right now, that minute 29 can't go fast enough to get in the locker room and try to regroup and see if they can establish anything on the offensive side and try to find a way to stop Maldonado. Although I don't think he's going to carry the ball that much in the second half, but whoever carries it, he's got holes like Maldonado had, he'll have some serious yardage.
When you're not deep and you're injured, doesn't add up. Johnson, he'll go down. The tackle for Harrison that time made by Vincent Prisco, as they're getting some of their other players in on defense. Prisco with the tackle. Johnson got 4. Johnson has run the ball just 5 times now for 10 yards.
Yeah, but you know, his effort's been there, and
great effort.
That's what you've got to look at for, you know, from an undermanned team like this,
especially defensively. Phyllis. Carry here, and he's stacked up, and you see a lot of maroon uniforms all over the place. That was Justin Williams, junior cornerback. Charles Veet also in on it. Now we'll have do we have a timeout?
It looks like Eastchester may have taken it.
Yeah, they did. Phyllis got just a yard or 2, and it'll be a 3rd and short with still 37 more seconds to go to halftime here. So, Pete, why call timeout here if Fred DeCarlo still just basically teaching and trying to get some?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, the thing that you have to keep in mind throughout this game, although Johnson and Phyllis are both seniors, you know, Tarsi is still only a sophomore. You want to give him as much of the experience, the practical in-game experience as you can give him, and this is a good opportunity to teach the kid some things. You know, Freddie DeCarlo said that he's a very coachable kid. He's kind of learning on the fly. He's taken over for, you know, a fairly decent quarterback. Brian Del Vecchio graduated last year, and, you know, he has to absorb as much as he can, even in tough situations like this. You know, they won the first 2 games of the year. You know, I would assume they're going to win against Tappan Zee next week. You know, it's not going to be a totally lost season. It's not going to be a season where you don't have any wins. So you got to let this kid get out there with some practical experience and with some playing time where he understands situations like running a 2-minute offense.
Don't forget they moved up as well to B this year. Tarsia, not a lot of time, gets it to Phyllis, and Phyllis has himself a huge gainer and a first down.
And that's why you call the timeout, Eric. You want to create positive yardage plays, which are going to give the offense confidence, and that was a good call, a positive yardage play. They haven't seen the screen yet. You know, again, we've got another one of the jailbreaks, although the offensive linemen will tell you that's what they're supposed to do, but you don't see many of them out in front of Doug Phyllis. But Phyllis makes a good play here. He gets by Charlie Veet. He puts a little shake and bake move on there and gets down the sideline and gets some good yardage, and that's exactly what Freddie DeCarlo's trying to, you know, instill in these kids.
Play went for 25 yards, 25 seconds to go, 25 yards to go, and another sack, and the latest one is Justin Haynes, who was not blocked at all, and he puts Tarsier on his back end quick.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the problem there, and you know, we're seeing Tarsi get up a little bit gimpy, which really has probably Freddie DeCarlo pretty upset that this kid who has so much ability and so much to look forward to as a quarterback is getting tossed around like a rag doll. Justin Haynes just made a solid defensive plays. You know, a big kid, 6'4", 220. He's a senior. He's got the experience. He comes off of that defensive end position, and he's one of the Harrison captains. And what happened was Brian Howell, who's the right guard, pulls out, tries to block him on that little rollout, which is how Eastchester runs their passing game. They're a rollout, sprint out type pass offense. And Howell's job is to get out. The kid's only a junior, Howell. He's really filling in for John DiArco. And what happens is he pulls out and tries to get the defensive end or a linebacker who's coming through, and he doesn't get a block on him, and the guy, Justin Haynes just runs over his quarterback. Those are the things that even an okay block is going to prevent Tarsi from getting swamped over like that. And, Eastchester's not been able to maintain even an okay block so far. If you look at it, the 50-yard play was a great outside cut by Phillips where he got up the field, and then the long pass was just a screen pass where the offensive linemen are told to just get a quick lockup and then let their guy get by him anyway. So
the line of scrimmage being dominated by the Huskies.
Yeah, I mean, Eastchester just hasn't, has not done a thing.
There's still 13 seconds to go. Time is official here on the clock at Feely Field. So 13 seconds to go, and Harrison didn't like something they saw. So a lot of timeouts here for a 28-0 football game, but we'll have one.
Yeah, it's really, it's kind of disheartening to see Joe Tarsi come off the field to talk to his coach, Fred DiCarlo, and he looks like he's to the point now where he's really frustrated, and you don't want your sophomore quarterback playing in his 4th game for your team to be frustrated when at worst you're going to be 500 after today, 2-2. So, I mean, it's going to be a total learning experience in the second half, and Fred DiCarlo's got to do he's got to make them believe that they're taking something out of this game. And I know it's tough to do when you're down 28-0 and you've seen Sam Maldonado run all over you like you're not even there, but if you don't maintain that mental optimism, then you're going to get a bunch of guys who feel defeated, and when you feel defeated, you go into the next week playing defeated, and you can't win a football game that way.
Easier said than done, but you're right, that's what you need to do.
Oh, I'm not saying you can do it. I'm saying that's what he's got to do, and I don't know how you do that.
Tarsi, a 2nd and long, in trouble again, and he goes down again. Mark Maraglino was in on that one. Keith Bisognano off the bench in on that, and I believe they'll just let it end after that. That was the sack number 5 for Harrison in the half, and it is all Huskies. They lead it 28-0 after 2 quarters. And Pete, Rob Astorino, I believe, is going to try to quickly get Art Trail Jr. We'll see if we have time for that, but it's 28-0, and pretty much the Maldonado show. 4 touchdowns. Has he impressed you?
Yeah, I mean, I've said it more than a few times today. I mean, he's a great running back, and it's tough to gain too much out of what he's done so far because he's really going against an undermanned Eastchester team. I'd like to. I tell you, I think that matchup down the road with the rematch with Harrison and Brewster, or even the Rye Harrison game, which we'll be back for in a couple weeks, and then down the road Sleepy Hollow Harrison, those are all really, really solid games, and I want to see a kid with the ability to perform on that playoff type level do what he's done today, and I think he will. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that he has the ability to do that. I'd like to see him play against a little bit better competition.
Yeah, didn't have a super game. No touchdowns against Brewster. All right, Rob Astorino is going to talk with Art Trail Jr., and he's with Art now, so let's head down to Robert. Rob.
All right, guys. Use him in the second half?
I'm not really sure yet. We have to go and talk about what we did right and what we did wrong. We gave up a big play, the first play or second play of the game, and we buckled down and we stopped him. We've been playing very, very good defense ever since. We're going to talk about blocking different fronts. We're going to talk about how we expect him to come out throwing the ball, and depends on on the next 2 or 3 possessions on how much we use him. I mean, we have some other good backs, and I think we're doing a great job blocking. And I'm happy we lost one of our kids was hurt, and that's kind of puts things in perspective. So I'm a little disappointed right now that somebody got hurt.
Well, we see the scoreboard and see 28 points. We know what you did right. You mentioned you're going to talk about what you did wrong. What was it?
Well, they're giving us a lot of different looks on defense now to try to, it's really changing it up. They're putting, a lot of outside people inside, and, we're going to have to make some adjustments there.
All right, Coach, stay healthy second half. 28-0 Harrison leads. Back up to you, Eric.
All right, Rob, and it is 28-0, and we'll come back right here with our halftime in a moment here on Metro Sports. 28-0 Huskies.
Good look at Sam Maldonado at his best. Eric, take a good look at this. He gets the handoff. He's a kid who's got so much power that you have to contain him inside, which Eastchester tries to do. One little kick out. See that little kick out, that little crossover step like Tim Hardaway in basketball. And when he gets to the corner, you're not going to catch him. Bad pursuit angle there by Eastchester, and then all he looks for the cone and he gets in, and that was one of his 4 touchdowns in the first half. This kid is one of the best, if not the best back in the county right now.
All right, so we'll get ready for the third quarter, and we'll kick it off. Johnson puts his foot into it. Maldonado, one of the 2 backmen. But Justin Williams is the other, and he has the football. And Williams finally goes down. Finally, and they'll get the ball. Give us a chance to look at the stats, Pete, through one half of play here at Feely Field, which is dominated, as you can see, by Harrison. Of those, Maldonado has 151 of those 199 yards. Total yards, all in favor of the Huskies. 10 first downs to 2 as well.
Well, when you say half stats, you're right, because there are only half of them. And if I had a telestrator, I'd put a line right down between Eastchester and Harrison. Look at the right side, 199 yards rushing. I mean, you can't let up 199 yards rushing in a game, let alone in the first half, and over 200 yards offense. Harrison is just dominated. I'll tell you one thing. We talk about Maldonado. We talk about Maraglino. We talk about the quarterback situation. Harrison, their offensive line has been dominant today.
Handelsman, 2 for 3, 35 yards passing in the first half. They'll have it from their 36-yard line, leading at 28-0. And Maraglino bangs his way toward a first down marker. He'll pick up 8. He had 34 yards rushing in the first quarter. We'll look at the scoring summary. Maldonado had the 2-yard run, then the 5-yard run in the second quarter. In the third quarter, it was a 12-yard run, and rather the second quarter, and then another 4-1. So he had 3 touchdowns in the second, 1 in the first for the Huskies.
It's kind of easy for those graphic guys. Just leave up HARR-Maldonado, fill in yardage and score. It's unbelievable. You know, on that last play, Eric, a great illustration of the Harrison offensive line domination. Sal Dragone kicks out, gets a great block on Campanelli, and, you know, makes the huge hole where they get 9 yards.
Marsico is QBing now, and he goes for it. He has Telesco, and it's incomplete. So the ball hung up a little bit, but it was broken up by Trotta. And Pete, there's a first chance that we had to see Marsico, who's what a diversified athlete he is. He's one of their 2 quarterbacks, also can play split end, also can run the ball.
Watch this, Eric. Marsico gets a good pass downfield, looking for Telesco. Let me show you another error on Eastchester's side. See Trotta? That's not the position you want to get. When the ball is hung up like that, that duck, you've got to get in front of him and make the catcher knock it down. It's just, you know, it's minor fundamental things that I could tell you something. I've known Freddie DiCarlo since he was 5 years old. It's stuff that I know has been taught to these players. It's just a matter of execution. 3rd down and 2. After this play, we'll go to Rob Astorino. Marsico, we told you he can run. And he zigzags his way right at the first down marker. I believe he has it. We'll sort it out for you after we head down to the field for Rob Astorino. I believe he's got an injury update on Zampella. Rob.
Yeah, the injury update on Zampella is a fractured or displaced fracture of the left humerus bone, which is right here in the upper left part of the arm. Also checking him for a dislocated shoulder. He was taken by the Harrison Ambulance Corps to St. Agnes Hospital. Eric?
Well, Zampella, the split end for the Huskies on offense, and on defense, he's their safety, so that hurts.
It's a huge blow, and it's something that, it's the last thing that Artie Troiola wanted anybody to go out in a blowout game like this.
Marsico did get the first down. He'll run again. Phyllis wraps him up from behind after 4. So Marsico can run the ball, gives them a diversified another back in there. So when he's in there, instead of just looking for the fullback and the tailback, now you have to worry about him.
Yeah, Marsico really opens up the whole option game for Harrison, as we just saw. He makes a great play. You know, the great option quarterbacks have to do one thing. They have to fake one play, and that's a defensive end. And you see here, see how he cuts inside of Phyllis? Phyllis, you know, Eastchester plays this modified 4-4 where the backers come up and almost play as defensive ends. Those are the guys that you want to get, and that's what he did. He had Phyllis in between going after the tailback or getting on the quarterback, and he cuts it right up. Here's another, see that? Phyllis stepped in and he gets it right out to Maldonado.
There goes Sammy Maldonado. Wow, what a run.
Even more than what a run, Eric, what a play. I mean, did you see what Marsico did? He gets out there, he gets Phyllis in between. Phyllis takes a step towards the quarterback. Boom, he gets the pitch out. On that, when that happens, when he gets the pitch out, the cornerback has to step up. Now watch this, watch Marsico. Goes out there, Phyllis takes a step in, boom, out to Maldonado. Now, you gotta have a cornerback right there to make the play. Not a corner in sight. They're so far down the field, it's ridiculous. And Sam Maldonado just runs it down. This kid's gonna, you know, he could rush, if he wanted to, could rush for 300 yards today.
Yeah, he's got 191 at the moment. That was his first rush of the second half. 17 for 191, 4 touchdowns. First and goal, Harrison. Maraglino gets the call, and he's inside the 5, Peter, to about the 3. He got 5. He's close to 50 yards himself. Tackle made that time by Michael Mazzi, the defensive end. So it'll bring up second and goal as we're approaching 6 minutes to go in the third quarter. And Harrison is thoroughly whipping the Eagles today.
Yeah, they are putting a beating on him. It'll be interesting to see if Artie Troilo gives it to Maldonado, let him get his 5th touchdown, or maybe Maraglino, who's done a great job blocking, and when he's had the ball, has got some really good positive yardage.
From the 3-yard line. There is Maraglino, and he's right around the goal line, short. He gets 2, and it'll bring up 3rd and goal.
Well, I think they're going to give it to Maraglino again.
Yeah.
And that's good. You know, Artie Troilo needs to do that. You need to spread it around, because there's going to come a point in the season, especially if you're going to try to shoot for a state championship or even a section championship, where you're going to need every guy on your team to be productive. And you've got to give them something to shoot for. You've got to let them know that you're passing it all around.
Here we go. 3rd down. Huskies looking for their first score of the 3rd quarter and 5th of the game. From the 1. Maraglino, and he's in. So a touchdown for Mark Maraglino, the other junior. Running back for Harrison.
Eric, it is absolutely scary for this conference next year to know that you got Sam Maldonado and Mark Maraglino coming back to run against you next year. They are, you know, we talked early on about the 1-2 combination that Eastchester had at running back, the 2 seniors. I mean, could you imagine talking about these 2 kids, Maraglino and Maldonado, next year as seniors?
Well, how about have them as juniors? Because, I mean, this is a sensational backfield, and the line doing a nice job all day today. Justin Haynes.
Malfitano, Justin Haynes, they have done a spectacular job. Not just a nice job, they've done a spectacular job up front so far today.
Huskies will go for 2. Marsico rolling, and does he get in? He gets in, just gets in. He was hit by Carapella right at the goal line, but he forced his way in, and it is 36-0. Now, Harrison's not trying to run this up by any means here.
You know, Eric, I was just going to mention that, you know, they're not trying to pad the score. What he's trying to do is trying to get Marsico some time, some real practical game experience at throwing the ball. That's all he's trying to do. And, you know, Marsico makes a nice play there and, you know, just pounds it in, and they never get the ball up in the air. But, you know, Artie's just trying to, he's trying to establish some things, work on some things. You know, you're talking about a guy who's relatively young, who's got 13 years coaching experience. It's a long, long time. A coach's son, a guy who was a great star in high school, spent a little time, as I believe, at the Citadel when he left Harrison. I mean, he was just a, you know, what we say about Maldonado, people said about Artie Troilo way back when, and probably more. I mean, Artie, you know, at this point, Artie was a better running back than Sam Maldonado is now. I don't know how that's going to shake out next year, but you know, he's just trying to, you know, as any good coach should, just work on everything. They have legitimately 3 tough games before they even get into the intersectional play, and that would be to go through Rye, Sleepy Hollow, and then obviously Bridgeport.
36-0 Johnson for Eastchester. And he gets it out close to his 30. The Eagles gave up 32 last week against the Horsemen. Sleepy Hollow, and now they've given up even more to the Huskies.
Well, after 2 early season wins for Eastchester, they have been brought back to reality a little bit by playing Sleepy Hollow and Harrison. And the thing about these 2 teams, Sleepy Hollow and Harrison, they both have Sleepy Hollow's Trevor Demi, who is a Section 1 leading rusher right now. You know, Harrison, we've talked about their backfield. I mean, when you're down a little bit defensively, you don't want to face these 2 teams. Unfortunately, Eastchester's had to.
Still a quarter and a half to go. 28-yard line. For the Eagles, Phyllis drops it, picks it up, and goes backwards. And again, a couple times they've had trouble with their handoffs, and a lot of times you have a lot of maroon jerseys in your backfield, and that makes it tough.
Well, you know, Eric, your old color commentator here in the booth, Ray Karowski, was my high school coach. Ray Karowski used to call it a jailbreak, and that's what these are. These are jailbreaks. You know, you're saying that they're having some trouble getting the handoff. Yeah, of course you're having trouble getting a handoff when you got a guy hanging on you when you turn around and hand it to the running back. Not the way it's designed to be.
That guy was Mark Maraglino that time. It's been Telesco a few times.
Yeah, it's been Jamie Telesco and Mark Maraglino have been in the backfield more than Phyllis and Johnson.
2nd and 14, and there's Johnson. And Haynes makes the tackle, but not until he gets 6. And there's a good run for Eric Johnson, doing an excellent job today as Phyllis. These Eastchester guys hang yeoman's work. Not a deep club, not a lot of jerseys on that Eastchester sideline.
Not at all.
Neither team. You know, we talked about Eastchester's numbers being down, but a lot of teams are. There's our latest part of the scoring drive. Maraglino making it 36-0. On 3rd down, Phyllis. And down he goes, tackled from behind by Justin Williams. Ferocious tackle by Williams, and now a late flag has come in. Tempers flaring. Eastchester's got to be a little bit frustrated. They thought that Williams tackled him illegally from behind. Pete, what'd you think? Watch number 6.
You know, I don't think it was. I think unless we get a better look at it here, it's coming right at our camera. He didn't grab a face mask. It's a good hit. I mean,
head tackle maybe.
You know, I mean, I think that'd be pretty chintzy at this point. I mean, it's been a clean game. It's been a fair game. You know,
78 red.
Okay, they didn't call that, so they called a
First down.
hold on the nose guard, Brian Caladrusia.
which, you know, could have just meant he grabbed something,
right,
you know, and impeded somebody from making a play. But, you know, I mean, that's kind of a tough call to make. To be honest with you, I didn't see it, but it's been a clean game. I mean, it hasn't, you know, there've been penalties, but they've been mistakes and not deliberate or personal foul type penalties.
Johnson tripped up after 3 for Eastchester. The last time they played was 1985. Eastchester won that game, so you think this is revenge 13 years later? I think Harrison remembers him.
Yeah, absolutely not.
These kids were, what, 3, 4 years old?
Yeah, exactly. Half of these guys are like 2 and 3 and 4 years old. I'll tell you, but there used to be some great Eastchester Harrison games back in the 70s and into the late 70s into the early 80s. There were just some tremendous Eastchester Harrison.
2nd down and 8. There's Phyllis. Nice run by Phyllis. He got thrown out of bounds by Vincent Prisco.
Phyllis is, you know, he's picking, he's choosing, he's trying to find a little hole, he's trying to cut it up into that little hole and get some positive yardage. You know, he hasn't done a bad job. It's, you know, think about the pressure that he's under and how difficult it is for him when you've got absolutely no blocking up front. It's, you know, it's very, very tough to run when you don't have any lanes. I mean,
it's funny. Phyllis's brother Dave Phyllis played for Tucko. Was a big star for Tucko in the early 90s.
He's a great running back at Tucko.
There's Johnson. There's a flag, and it probably will come back in the area where holding. is usually called. It's funny, you had two brothers going to different schools. You had two brothers, Maraglino, and his brother went to different high schools. If you live in the, sometimes you move, or sometimes you live in a different zone. There's a flag.
Yeah, have they rezoned the schools these days? And you know, it's kind of interesting. We mentioned before Eastchester's
There you win a mouthpiece on 33 red.
Oh, it will count, and there's a penalty you don't see.
Yeah, no mouthpiece for Jamie Telesco. And
so what is he? Doesn't need one, or
no? He just
didn't think he needed one.
Yeah, and you know, that's just not a good move by Jamie Telesco. I mean, when you're a senior captain, you know, right now he's in the middle there talking to the referees. You know why he's talking to the referees, Eric? Because he doesn't want to turn around and look at his coach, because he knows he's going to get an earful. When you're a senior captain, you do not, two things that you never do. You never not have your mouthpiece in, and you never not have your chin strap buckled. Those are two things that are just not acceptable when it comes to talking to the coach. And Jamie Telesco is doing everything he can to look over to the opposite side of the field, because he knows that Artie Troilo is going to give him a little talking to for that penalty.
Not easy for the officials, keeping track of 22 mouthpieces, but they caught Telesco that time. Johnson.
His father.
Second effort gets a few.
You know, it's really, if we catch a replay of these plays, there are just too many offensive linemen for Eastchester who are just standing up as the running back is running by them. They're not even locked up with people. You know, they're not initiating contact. The contact is coming from the defensive side forward to the offensive side. That's not the way you do it. I mean, it's not the way that you build a successful running game.
Don't forget, Eastchester has, with Johnson and Phyllis, two of the better runners in the section. I mean, they're up there in yardage.
Both of them are top 25 in the section.
Yeah, over 300 yards for Johnson, over 300 yards for Phyllis. There's Phyllis, trying to make something happen, but really can't at times. For about 1 yard, Prisco in on the tackle, as well as number 71, Keith Bizignano. Deep team, Harrison. Very deep. Play a lot of players. So it just shows you what a job they're doing, because they're doing this against really a strong offense. It's hard to tell. They got a 0 on the board, but there they go. There's
well, they're doing it against a strong running game. The problem is that strong running game was severely depleted when John DiArco couldn't play guard, and they had to switch some things around, and they just haven't, you know, they just haven't really had anybody who's filled in adequately for DiArco at the guard position. It's really disrupted the whole offensive line.
Fortuno is one-on-one coverage. They go to short man Phyllis, and he'll have first down yardage. Knocked out of bounds that time by number 21 for Harrison. That's Tony Mazzilli.
I tell you, Eastchester's had a little bit of success throwing the ball on the little screen passes, a little bit of the spring out rollout package, and the deep drop. See the deep drop, and then he rolls, and that's a nice pass from a sophomore. Good spiral on it, puts it right in the breadbasket of Phyllis. Not really all that impressive how Phyllis carried the ball there. A little bit of Deion Sanders, but he tucked it away when he needed to. And you know, I mean, it's all positive stuff. It's really a shame that you can't see Tarshia and Phyllis and Johnson with a strong offensive line.
Second completion for Tarsia today, both to Phyllis. That for 19 yards.
Big hole.
Johnson. And he finally goes down. Yeah, nice. There's a good hole. Good job by the Eastchester offensive line that time. And Bill Heron, the linebacker, finally made the tackle on Eric Johnson, number 9, who worked for us.
You know, the count that you have when you're an offensive lineman is you want to lock up with your defensive player for 2 to 3 seconds, because that's all it takes for the running back to get the ball and get through the hole. So you just want to make a shield where you're making a hole. You're physically making a hole by turning your player one way or the other for no more than 3 seconds. And that play, finally, you know, the Eastchester offensive line did it.
Minute 17 in the third. Second and a couple for the Eagles. Once again, they give it to fullback Eric Johnson.
This has been, you know, Eastchester's had the ball now for about 5 minutes, almost 6 minutes actually. It's been a good sustained drive. They've got some good offensive pressure. You say to yourself, why couldn't they do, you know, why haven't they done that since the beginning of the game? They had the big run early, which gave them a little bit of confidence, but they did not get that first down on 4th down early in the first quarter. It seemed to just change the whole tone of the game, and then Maldonado just kind of took everything over.
From the 7, 35 seconds to go. For perhaps there is some movement against the Eagles.
Yeah, Diaz Albertini, Antonio Diaz Albertini, the big 6'4". I'm sorry, as I step over the referee again. I told you.
I stepped on my flag.
See, people stepping on his flag. I'm talking over him. He's not getting the respect he should be getting out there.
Double foul, false start. Here, first down.
There was a false start. Albertini, the offensive tackle. Eastchester with Brian Howell in the offensive line as well. Johnson looking for the end zone.
I tell you, you've got to be impressed with what Johnson's done. 36-0. You know, really, for all intents and purposes, not much to play for at this point, other than pride. And he has shown, I told you before, Freddie DiCarlo said, Eric Johnson's about the only kid that I have on the roster that could have played back when we played. I mean, it was a situation then where you had to be tough, you had to always be in the game, and this kid really has shown me a lot today.
All right, it's 36-0, and we have another quarter to go. Eastchester looking to break the shutout when we come back. Huskies 36 and the Eastchester Eagles no score. Eric Lubitz along with Peter Arciello. Rob Astorino is down on the sidelines. And we're all watching the Sammy Maldonado show. And Harrison, 36-0. Eagles looking to break that up. Second and goal as we start the fourth quarter. And Johnson had a little bit of a miscarry, and he'll lose one. It's about 4 times today where Eastchester's had a little trouble on the handoff.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Eric, what the problem was there. I don't know if Tarsia was a little, didn't get out further enough over the tackle to get the ball in there, or if Johnson was a little bit too far out, a little bit too deep on the hole, as they say, and he got it kind of on his hip. Luckily, Johnson held on to the ball.
Bill Heron and Dean Marino on the tackle. So it's now third down, and it's goal for the Eagles. Trotta in motion.
Wide open.
Tarsia looks for him, gets it to him, touchdown. 6-yard touchdown, Eastchester on the board. Tarsia to Anthony Trotta.
That's a good play. It's just a little rollout. We used to call it 32 pass back in the day, and all Trotta does is he just runs a little out, adequate blocking. Tarsia may get a little bit too deep on that, and he throws it a little bit short, but Trotta catches it and just trots into the end zone. Eastchester finally gets on the board.
It's 36-6, and maybe you got to have a goal. Look, you're down the 28-0 at the half, so let's try to win the second half. Right now, they're down 8-6 in the second half. They'll go for 2. Trotta in motion on the 2-point conversion again. See if they do the same play. They look to, but Maldonado won't let them. So they look to do the exact same play, and there's, what'd you call that again when the
jailbreak?
Yeah, it was a jailbreak, and Maldonado did it that time, and Tarsia is down. You know why? They're so surprised because before they even get a chance to get set, they're being blindsided, and Tarsia has been hit about 6 or 7 times.
Eric, a lot of this could be prevented if they would just get, if each player would just get a helmet and shoulder pads, any kind of little block on a guy. And, as we see there, Maldonado just runs by people. No one even puts a hat on him, and he runs over the quarterback. And now Tarsia had something with his left shoulder or left arm, and he's in a lot of pain right now. And, that's the last thing that Eastchester needs because of the, the lack of depth and the weakness that they have at so many positions with guys going down, that the last thing they need is for Joe Tarsia to get hurt now. And he looks like he's going to be okay.
He gets up, throwing a touchdown pass. Let's look at the standings throughout our league. We'll try to get to as many of these leagues as we can in the fourth quarter. AA North, Mayapack. This is as of last night, so Mayapack has actually defeated Arlington, and they may be the strongest team in AA.
Yeah, we talked about them a couple of times. That must have been a great game, 13-10 last night. Mayapack beats Arlington. Mayapack's quarterback, we've said it a million times, Brandon Johansson, is a kid who transferred out of Arlington to go play at Mayapack, and I tell you, that's going to, I wouldn't be surprised if those two teams saw one another again down the road.
And AA South, which is the other AA division. Ramapo is the only one undefeated. The usual powers, White Plains, Roosevelt, struggling.
White Plains, Roosevelt, New Rochelle, all struggling. But, you know, we mentioned this last week. Any one of those teams can beat any other one of those teams on any given day. And, you know, Gorton was to meet Roosevelt today, the big battle of the DiMattios. I wouldn't be surprised if Gorton got on the board with their first win today.
Maldonado takes the kickoff. And look at this. Look at these moves by Sam Maldonado. Just ferocious return to the 43. Petey showed us about 7 or 8 of his best moves on that run back.
You know, it's not even like his moves are so shifty that they're so tough to tackle. It goes even further than that, Eric. He just is so much more aggressive than the guys trying to tackle him that he's just, I mean, watch this. He gets here, he'll cut up to the right. He'll see that there's nothing there. See, those are aggressive moves. Those aren't just quick cuts. That's not Barry Sanders type running. That's just aggressive. He's just looking for holes, and he sees the holes and he gets to them. I mean, he has great running back instincts.
It's just not an easy player to take down. So let's see. I don't believe he's in the game. We might have seen the last now of Sammy Maldonado with 10:41 to go, and Eastchester down to Harrison 36-6. He may be done for the afternoon. And Harrison putting a new set of players in. Johnson makes the tackle there. That's what Harrison's been doing most of the time. The handoff that time went to Matt Miller, 20. Miller had a touchdown in the blowout win over Tappan Zee, so he's in the game as well, and there's his first run.
Yeah, Harrison has put a completely new backfield in. They've got Paul Savidio, senior, in there at quarterback, 5'8", 135 pounds. They've got Matt Miller, as you said, is playing the tail. Looks like Jamie Telesco still in there, trying to make out who the fullback is. The fullback's Tony Mazzulli, who's another junior at 5'9", 150 pounds.
Servideo added the option, got a couple. So this is really the third string quarterback, if you will. And Servideo got 2. Michael Lucenti made the tackle. Servideo is a junior, 5'8", 135. So you would think with the first 2 guys being seniors that he will be the have the fortunate job of being a QB and handing it off to Maldonado.
Exactly. He's got one thing to work on all summer and next year, and that's handing the ball to Maraclino and Maldonado.
9:15 to go, 36-6. Telesco, and there are flags down. Let's look at the stats through our first 3 quarters, where the highlight, look at that, 262 rushing yards, 191 for Maldonado through 3 quarters of play. And we have some wrong numbers on there.
Yeah, the obviously the total yards is wrong, as is the passing yardage, but you can't, there's no mistaking Sam Maldonado's numbers.
Yeah, he's got 191, and that's the actual big number today. And actually the bigger one is the 4 touchdowns he has, and all in the first half.
Holding, 1 red, decline, 4th down.
It's the first mistake for Dean Marino today, a little holding call. But, you know, you get in a situation like this, you know, Marv Evans just called garbage time, and as a player, when you're on a team that's blowing the other team out, you get very complacent. You get, you know, sometimes you tend to get a little sloppy with your skills, and that's what we may be seeing a little bit with Harrison here. They've had, I'd say, an inordinate amount of penalties for a team this skilled in the 3rd and 4th quarter.
Well, I said Maldonado was done for the day. Well, not as a punter, he's not, and he booms one. Johnson takes it and goes not too far. He's tackled by number 54 for the Huskies, and that should be Marino. And with 6:30 to go, the Eagles will get the ball back, and they love another score. Nice offensive series last time with Tarsi throwing the touchdown pass to Trotta, and they did get 4 first downs on the drive as well.
Yeah, the one thing that Fred DeCall is going to have to do on Monday is give his young fullback, or his senior fullback, I should say, Eric Johnson, the day off. He has really put in a lot of time today on both sides of the ball, made good plays on both sides of the ball, and he has really taken a pounding.
For Eastchester from their 27. And there is Johnson, and he knows a little bit of a runner like Maldonado. Very tough to bring down. Big heart. You can see it in his running, and he picks up 5.
Yeah, he's not quite as big as Maldonado. You know, the leg structure not quite as strong as Maldonado, but he's got the speed. He's got the breakaway speed. You know, there's a couple teams that Eastchester played early on, including Pelham, that can attest to that. And he's tough. He's like a pinball in there. You know, Freddie DiCarlo said he's the toughest kid I have on my team. And, you know, that you like to have a real tough kid at the fullback position.
Johnson and Phillips do not have 100 yards rushing so far today. Phillips to the outside. Should have first down yardage. He needed just 4. I believe he has. Phillips is over 70 yards rushing as well, Pete. But most of that big early 50 yard.
Well, this is, you know, this is a good opportunity for Freddie DiCarlo to get some, you know, some kids in the game. They're not a real deep team. Get Johnson and Phillips some carries and get that offensive line. You know, this might be the kind of confidence they need going on when they play teams that are more along the lines of what they can be in terms of playing against the Harrison second team defense.
And on first down, Johnson doing a nice job. Much of the Huskies' second unit is in there. Rob Astorino, what you got, Rob?
Well, Eric, you'd think this game were being played down on Mulberry Street, as I mentioned before. 31 of the 52 players suited up between both teams have Italian-American surnames. If this were the end of the season, we could label this the Sausage and Pepper Bowl game. Back up to you.
All right, and 2 of our 3 announcing team as well.
Yeah, actually, Eric, you're outnumbered.
Yeah,
so,
I'm outnumbered.
So
here.
Rob and I are going to take over, and you can go the way of those other 21 kids that don't have Italian surnames.
But I did go to Eastchester, so.
That's true. So you're Italian by proxy.
That's right. Exactly. Was that Johnson on the carry in the midst of our nonsense? It was.
I think it was Phillips.
And he does have another first down. So Eagles with a nice job in the second half moving the ball after all sorts of trouble in the first half. But remember, some of the key Husky defenders are not in there.
Yeah, I mean, this is a different defensive set for Harrison. You know, a bunch of guys that don't really get that much playing time, or certainly not on the starting side. But it might give these young Eastchester offensive linemen a little chance to build some confidence and certainly build some technique.
Johnson will get 5. Don't forget, Eastchester's got some of their second unit in there as well. It's just that they don't have a ton of players.
Well, I don't know if they could field a full second unit. I mean, you know, Fred DiCarlo's got some kids that are in. He's got 2 9th graders on the squad. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 10th graders on the squad. You know, he's got a bunch of kids that are still very young. And actually, one of the 10th graders is in the game. 9th graders is in the game right now.
Jeff Calero, number 30, is in the game for Eastchester. Tarsia. Well, it's more time than he's used to, and wow, does he throw that out of bounds. Now, shouldn't that be grounding? I mean, yeah, and it will be. That's just an awful play by Tarsia. Just absolutely nobody there. What was he thinking?
Well, you know, Eric, the guy's been running for his life since the first play of the game. You know, if I'm Joe Tarsia, you know, I'd throw it there too, because the thing is, it's not like he's just getting chased from one guy from one position. You know, it's not like, you know, there's a Lawrence Taylor out there that's chasing him down. He knows where he is. They're coming from everywhere. You know, it's like fighting a crowd for this kid. And, you know, I mean, his instinct was to get rid of it. His coach probably told him, you know, when you think you're in trouble, get rid of it. You just can't get rid of it when you're running towards the sideline and there's no back within 20 yards.
Here! Lost it down! 3rd down!
But Pete, I mean, sure, they're not coming back to win this game, but still, you don't want to make a play like that because you lose it down and you're going to lose yards, so just not a smart throw.
Right, but Eric, remember, this kid's only a sophomore. He's learning on the job, and, you know, this has been the school of hard knocks for him today.
Phyllis, favorite spot, and he's got the first down. A 28-yard run for Phyllis, just like that. And he is now over 100, so I spoke too soon. Phyllis, who came in with 329 yards rushing, couple touchdowns, is over 100 yards rushing on the day.
Yeah, I think, you know, we mentioned how Phyllis and Eric Johnson have this you know, this ability. We know that they have the ability. They're just running against a level of talent that's a little bit too high for them to excel against. And when they get back into the teams that they can beat, like the Tappan Z's and whatnot, and certainly Pelham, who they beat earlier in the season, you're going to see these guys rush for the yardage like they rushed for in the first couple weeks of the year.
Bizignano makes the tackle for the Huskies. They are a deep team, this Harrison team. They play 6 deep in the secondary, so they sort of rotate, you know, when their starters are in, Telesco and Williams and Zempella and Servito and Marsico and Miller. Some of them are still in there. What coaches like to do is put a blend of their starters in the second unit in, so where it's not, as you say, garbage time.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you say garbage time because it's not going to, the outcome of the game is not going to be decided.
Well, that's like in basketball. You have 5 guys in clean uniforms checking in with a minute left, and then we're just, you know, you don't want to inbound the ball.
Right, but the thing is, you know, neither one of these two teams has the luxury of having too many guys with very clean uniforms because, you know, the numbers are so low now that everybody has to play somewhere, even if it's on special teams. And, you know, it's the type of situation where, you know, everybody has to get a chance to play. You just hope that, you know, the kids can learn something week in and week out.
36-6, under 4 minutes to go. Eastchester would like one more to get back on the bus and talk about no gain for Johnson. Let's continue through the standings, if we might. We left off, I believe, with League A. We went through the AA North. Yorktown, we'll see them next week. The only team undefeated already here, and this is one of the toughest leagues top to bottom in Section 1.
Yeah, I mean, Ossining, Greeley, John Jay, Poughkeepsie, Fox Lane, the best 1 and 2 team in Section 1 right now. I mean, you know, top to bottom there, you've got 6 teams that are competitive week in and week out.
And an A South. Remember, one team will advance to the state championship from each league, so that's A North. And we'll get to A South after this play. A little bit of rain has started to fall here.
We used to call this running time. It never stops, out of bounds or not.
Phyllis, the pitch.
Good play by Tarsier. You know, he held it just as long as he had to. Got the pitch out there. That's a nice play. I'm impressed with that. That's a nice, solid way to run the option for a sophomore.
Yeah, and a nice gain as well. That was another 10 yards for Phyllis. Let's get back to the leagues, back to A South. Yorktown, the class of A North, and A South, you got to think Nyack's the class of that league.
Absolutely, but Clarkstown North has put up some good games so far, 3-0 already. Nyack, you know, I think is the power there, but you've got Mamaroneck, who's a tough team. You know, you still got Suffern, who's not bad at 2-1.
Tarsia rushed, and he is sacked by not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 maroon jerseys. You can give it to, who are you going to give it to? Looks like Salvatore Dragone was the one who officially fell on top of Tarsia.
See, now you talked about the bad play that Tarsia made before when he intentionally grounded the ball and threw it out of bounds. On that play, he could have thrown it out of bounds again, but no, he learned something, and that's what Freddie DiCarlo wants out of this kid. He wants him to learn every play, you know, the right move, and he made the right move there by just sitting on the ball.
B, we start off with the North Division. Brewster beat this Harrison team. You know they're going to be there, and then as we quickly move to B South, that's the this league right here. The Harrison Huskies and Sleepy Hollow Horsemen will end up meeting the final week for the to decide the league championship. Well, hello, Tony Mazzulli. I'm a backup player, but I could burst through the line just like the starters can, and 2 consecutive sacks by the Huskies.
No, you know, they're not getting any opposition, and you know, this is the scenario that you want to be in when you're a defensive player. It's just, you know, we said it a million times, it's jailbreak time.
The 7th sack of the day. Mazzilli, 5'8", 150-pound junior, and we mentioned the word junior a lot with this Harrison team. So we all think it's going to be Harrison Brewster when push comes to shove. But Sleepy Hollow Fair has a lot to be said about that. Harrison still has to be.
Yeah, Trevor Dinney is certainly going to have something to say about who's going to get through, you know, the B division.
We got a minute left. It's 3rd and 26. They have gone backwards. Johnson fights ahead to the 5. Quickly, let's look at C and D here tonight. C, they divided up into 2 leagues, C1 and C2. In CA and B, rather. In A, Nanuet and Rye, the teams there. Nanuet has already won their league, 3-0. And in CB, Edgemont, they've already won their league. They are 3-0.
So people are looking for the Edgemont-Nanuet game ultimately in the bowl game. But again, Rye, Westlake still with a chance as well.
Yeah, I think Edgemont-Nanuet would be an excellent football game. Two strong, tough teams, well coached.
On fourth down is tipped, then incomplete. So incomplete and turned over with 17 seconds to go. Time for about one more play in this one. The Eagles will not get in again. It's 36-6. Let's look at D North. The defending champions looking to repeat pretty much a weak D North.
Yeah, a weak D North, but you know, Croton has played well. Briarcliff at 2-1 has played well as too, but Croton I think is a class in the league.
And in D South, certainly Valhalla is the class in the league. They play Bronxville today, but they are undefeated and the favorite to win D and advance the Drew section.
Well, you say that I went out on a limb to pick Valhalla in the first week, but I still think they're the best team out there. I think they have the most talent, and you know, I think that they're going to take the whole thing and do it.
Of course, our most valuable player is Sam Maldonado. He'll be, yeah, he is. We didn't have to discuss that. But
gosh, I didn't even get a vote on that one.
Rob Astorino will chat with him in our trail. Maldonado had 191 yards rushing on 17 carries. And that should do it. Maldonado only ran once in the fourth quarter, so really just played 3 quarters, and actually had 150. Actually, in the whole second half, he only ran once. So he only had 16 carries, and that should do it. The game is over. Harrison had defeated Eastchester by a score of 36-6 to go to 3-1. The Eagles fall to 2-2. The teams will do the traditional handshake at midfield, and we'll come back in 2 minutes.
The bloody Old England sweepstakes. We'll fly 1 grand prize winner and 5.
The season.
Eric's the producer, right?
Last year, 5th-year senior.
Steamrolls Eastchester 36-6 thanks to Sammy Maldonado. And Coach Artie Troilo, you're now 3-1. You'd love to have that Brewster game back, losing at the final seconds, but that's finished. So maybe if you continue to play like you played today, you'll meet them again later on.
Well, we're just taking it one game at a time. Offensively, we're getting better and better every week. Our offensive line is really coming together. Ryan Calangiuccio, Ricky Lambiase, Charlie Veet, Chris Malfitano, Sal Dragone, Justin Haynes, Billy Herron, Dino Marino. Those kids are really getting better and better. Our fullback has been outstanding, Mark Maraglino, and we have a couple of the best backs, maybe the best back in Section 1, and we also have some other pretty good backs too. Jamie Telesco and Donnie Marsco. And our quarterback, Matt Handelsman, is back. He didn't play the first game. And, you've watched Sammy. Sammy is really one of the best runners in Section 1, if not the best. And he could do pretty much whatever he wants to do. And we're pleased.
You left out the water boy, I think.
Well, not very good here.
They're training. So in 2 weeks you play Rye, and this place will be absolutely filled. And everyone says you just throw out the records, and it's a huge classic battle. What's it like for the community? We're going to look ahead for 1 second before we talk to Sammy about that.
Well, that's tough for me to look ahead at all because, with 1 loss on our record, we can't afford to lose another game. We can't afford to look by anybody. Dobbs Ferry, they're going to come in at either 2-2 and 1-3, and we're really looking at them. And, that's going to be hard work not to look ahead to Rye and not let Dobbs Ferry, they're well coached, sneak up on us. So right now, we're just really looking towards this next game. Let the community and let the hype take care of itself. We have to win football games.
It must be a pleasure to be on the sidelines with a playbook and this guy out on the field.
Well, it's a pleasure to be on the sidelines with the coaches that I have, and I watch him. I know every time he gets the ball, he's a threat. They must be holding their breath. I know if it's 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 9, we hand him the ball, he can go all the way at any time. So it's really a pleasure, and he's a junior, which makes it doubly as good.
Coach, congratulations. Sammy, 191 yards, 16 carries unofficially, and 4 touchdowns. Talk about today. You just steamrolled over Eastchester, and your offensive line did a great job for you.
Offensive line did a great job. My fullback, I just ran through the hole. My fullback made great blocks. I just read the blocks and ran to the end zone.
Season going the way you thought it would?
Yeah.
then what about in 2 weeks against Rye? What is it for you as a player, and perhaps the star player, to play against a team like Rye?
It's the best feeling. It's just like, you know, so many people are here, and we just do what we have to do.
All right, Sammy. Good luck. Congratulations. Final score 36-6 in favor of Harrison. And let's send it upstairs to Eric.
All right, Rob, how you doing? Very interesting talking to Sammy and Art, and two of the greatest runners in the history of Harrison, and there you have it, another great effort for Harrison. Let's look at the final stats, Peter, real quick, which can be dubbed the Sammy Maldonado Show. Stats in this ball game: 265 yards rushing for Harrison. We mentioned 191 for Maldonado, 176 yards rushing for Eastchester. Phyllis got over 100, unofficially 121 yards rushing as well. Total yards 300 for Harrison to 226 for Eastchester. So, Pete, the question remains: can Harrison be a team that can go on and ultimately even maybe win a state championship?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, Artie Troilo mentioned virtually every guy he had on the roster, but you know what? They all contribute. That's the thing. And you know, having a bunch of guys that contribute like that is a great luxury. And having a running back like Sam Maldonado, and then another running back like Mark Maraglino, and then his quarterback situation, I mean, he's just stocked. It's going to be really, really interesting to see. The tough part is he's got to beat Rye. He's got to beat Sleepy Hollow before he even gets near another chance at Brewster, and that's a tough road to hoe to win those 2 games just to get to that. And then let's keep something in mind. We talk about state championship. We mentioned it early on. For Artie Troilo to take this team to the state championship, he's got to then get through Brewster and then get through the playoff system in the states. It's not easy.
But we certainly saw quite an effort from quite a runner from quite a team here today. So the Huskies go to 3-1. The Eagles fall to a record of 2-2. That's about it from Feely Field in Harrison, New York. For Peter Arciello, Rob Astorino, our director today, Ralph Cabradell, our entire Metro Sports crew. This is Eric Lubitz. Harrison, a big winner, 36-6. See you next week.